People laugh at me when I tell them that I'm an accountant who does not like spreadsheets. It's like saying you're a pilot who doesn't like flying. And that's because right now, the business world lives on spreadsheets, and most people can't possibly imagine a future without them. In fact, accountants always tell me that we'll never get rid of spreadsheets because they are the perfect tool for business because they're fast and flexible. But fast and flexible isn't always what you want because flexibility actually introduces risk. And for critical decisions, spreadsheets are a terrible solution. Now, I spent 30 years in corporate roles watching spreadsheets take over every aspect of executive decision making. And now Microsoft has added Copilot into the mix, and everything has got a whole lot worse. Let me explain why. A few years ago, a paper was released showing that 30% of research publications had Excel errors. And that's an enormous number when you consider that research publications go through rigorous peer review, and yet people still fail to catch the error before it was published. The paper was analysing Excel errors in gene research, where identifiers like sept8 and dec1 mean very specific things. They're completely legitimate codes, but when researchers pasted them into Excel, or Google Sheets for that matter, without any warning, the spreadsheet decided that sept8 meant the 8th of September and dec1 was 1st of December. Not only did it replace the code, it turned the code into a 5-digit number that means absolutely nothing. But on the surface, it can pretty much look the same. But the key piece of information has been automatically replaced without anyone noticing. Now, no doubt that was a feature that was added to help casual users enter data more efficiently for trivial use cases, like a home budget or a piece of ad hoc analysis that's never going to see a boardroom. But when Excel does that in something that's not trivial, like research or business analytics, that's really, really dangerous. Researchers have been aware of this specific bug since 2004, and in 2016, a major paper called it out. In fact, an international committee even renamed hundreds of genes specifically to avoid that problem. And yet the error rate in publications has barely moved. It's still around 30%. And those errors weren't even in minor journals. They were in prestigious, high-impact publications that other researchers trust and build on. And that's the real danger here. Trusted information that's contaminated and shared by people who rely on the source's reputation rather than auditing the data that's underneath. Now, you might say, look, that's gene research. That's an ed case. We don't use codes like that in our business. But that's actually not the problem. The problem is that Excel was designed for lightweight data entry and calculation. It was never designed for critical decision making because errors remain silent. There's no error log or audit trail, and nothing flags you about automatic conversion. And that's because the software is making assumptions about your data, and it's entirely up to you to catch it. Many years ago, I had a very heated argument with a CIO who was adamant that my team needed to stop using an Access database that we'd built. He told me that Access was unsupported and I needed to stop building my own solutions because company policy was to eliminate point solutions. When I asked him what the alternative was, he told me that Excel works fine for everybody else. And that's often the mentality. Force everyone onto the generic tool and ignore the fact that not everything fits neatly into the Microsoft Office suite. Point solutions exist precisely because the right tool for the job is sometimes not the most convenient tool or the most familiar tool, and definitely not the tool that the IT department has already got a license for. The papers on gene research recommend practitioners use proper data science tools like Python or R, and that's because scripted languages don't autocorrect, and they can be tested end to end and validated at every step, and they'll fail out loud when something goes wrong. But good luck getting Python or R through most corporate IT departments. So here's where we are. Spreadsheets are already making errors in critical decisions, and that's long before AI arrived. We've got published papers about it. We've even renamed genes to work around it, and yet the error rate hasn't changed. Now you take that same problem, a generic general purpose tool that's trusted far beyond its intent, and you add a large language model on top of it. Microsoft Copilot doesn't fix the silent error problem because it accelerates it, because it's giving you confident, well-formatted answers that's built on an unstable foundation. And because it sounds authoritative, few people ever bother to check underneath. Generic tools get rolled out because they feel familiar and easy to use, and you don't need to worry about testing and validation and scripting, and because someone in procurement has already bought the license. But familiarity and convenience is not the same as fitness for purpose. If you've ever needed a case study to prove why the tools that you chose for handling a strategic decision is not the convenient one, here it is, a peer-reviewed published paper. And look, I'm sure there's lots of people out there who won't like the fact that I'm attacking their favorite application. Many people love their Excel, especially accountants. But I hope for a world where we don't just put AI on top of broken processes. I hope we use AI to make things actually better. And that's because productivity always increases when people have the right tool for the job. But unfortunately, we're still in an era where AI is being bolted onto everything and people are going crazy doing everything themselves. And that's a real cause for concern. I'd love to know if you've had the same experience. Have you been forced to use a generic tool that was not fit for purpose? Drop it in the comments below, because I think these stories need to be heard, because there are still many people out there who believe that Excel works fine for everybody else. And if you find these videos useful, please consider subscribing so you never miss an update. Thank you, and see you in the next one.